Should you algo trade or should you discretionary trade? Now, it's a hard question to answer because for some people, discretionary trading might be a lot better, and for some people, algo trading might be a lot better. And there's a lot of different factors with that we're going to go over today here. So, algo trading versus discretionary trading, which one is right for you? And everybody wants the easy answer to this, right? Oh, algo trading's better. Oh, discretionary trading's better. But it totally depends on who you are as a person and what limiting things you have. Whether that be your discretion is your limiting factor, then maybe algo trading is better for you. But if you can't deal with delayed gratification, then maybe discretionary trading is better for you because you can move into it quite a bit quicker. So I have some pros and cons to go over, and then kind of how to choose which one's right for you. And you can do both too, right? There's no reason that you can't do both. So for algo trading, your pros are that you have no emotions in it, right? And that's kind of like the biggest pro of algo trading is if your emotions take control of you and you FOMO into trades and you revenge trade and stuff like that. That's where an algo really shines because the computer is like its discretion and it's own risk model. You aren't the risk model of it. You can also run extensive back tests. So you can back test, over 4 years period with no look back bias and then out of sample test it. And that's a big thing for discretionary back testing is I think inherently most discretionary back tests are flawed metrics because you always have some sort of look back bias or you just don't or you take trades because oh well there's no money on the line but you would never have taken that in a real market because there is actual money on the line. And the look back bias, if you are brand new to trading, look back bias is less important. But I mean, I've been trading for a while now, and if I was to discretionary back test from January 2026 to May 2026, some of those days I know what's going to happen already, right? I open up the chart, it's, oh yeah, it's this day, this is the day I hit that, 6 hour trade that was sweet. And you just know that price action and you can predict it. And like you can really try to not go down that rabbit hole and try to just take trades that you would take. But I mean, there's always that risk that you are using look back bias or you are just taking trades because there's no money on the line and you can't be sure of that. The other pro is that it can run 24/7 or it can run in times that you can't trade. So let's say if you're on EST, it's difficult for you to trade London session because you need to be up at 2 in the morning to trade that or like late Asia session, something like that. If you can find an edge for London session, it'd be significantly easier for you to algo trade that. And then you're still up at a normal time and you can still do your normal day. And that's the same with, say, you have a job and you work the whole time through New York session. It's if you built an algo for New York session, then you can have it trading while you're working instead of having to, go on your lunch break and trade and have to rush through your trades and whatever. And it also forces discipline because the algo is trading itself, right? You don't actually have to have the discipline yourself, so it manually forces discipline into it, or it doesn't force discipline into it, but it takes your own discipline out of it. Now, the cons of it are one is delayed gratification. Now, the delayed gratification that you get with an algo is like it might take you 6, 8 months before you ever find anything profitable that works out a sample, that passes your Monte Carlo evaluations, and is ready to actually trade live. And for those 8 months, you are seeing no gains. You're not seeing any green days. You're not seeing any red days, nothing. You're taking no trades. And lots of time it can feel like you're making no progress. I mean, I've built algos for a good bit now, and I've spent, 2 months working and seen absolutely no results. And that is 2 months of my life that are quote unquote wasted. And obviously, I learned lots of things during those times, but I didn't actually do anything that made me any money for 2 months straight. So that is difficult, right? And you need to understand that the process takes time. And for some people, they might, 2 weeks in, you might have an algo. And it's like, man, I stumbled onto a great idea. But for some people, you might spend, a year trying to find something and come up with absolutely nothing. So you need to know that and you need to trust the process of just keep trying things. Another con is the learning curve because it's not as simple as you think it is, right? It's not just, oh, okay, I'm going to type in Claude, hey, build me a strategy for X, Y, and Z, test it over a year of data, okay, it's perfect, and send it live. That's not how it works, right? You need to use multiple years of backtest data, then optimize it on that backtest data, then run your walk forward optimization, and then out of sample test it, and then run your Monte Carlo. So you need to know what order to run those so you don't run into curve fitting. You need to know what to look for if you are curve fitting. There's a lot more metrics that you need to know. Realistically, if you are running a backtest, any backtest in general, you should know all of your trading metrics, as I mentioned in the last video. But mainly for an algo trader, like these are very, very crucial metrics that you need to know and understand how they correlate together and how to look at them together because lots of them are nuanced. The other con there, overfitting. That's the biggest thing with algos, and that's the reason why you build something that looks super great in sample testing and then you send it live and it's just terrible because you curve fit it, right? Or you overfit the strategy to the data and you made it perfect for those 2 years of data that you tested on. But the next 2 years of live market aren't going to be the last 2 years of backtested data, if that makes sense. And then misconceptions. I mean, I mentioned oh, I'm just going to build a strategy in Claude, backtest over a year, it's perfect, I'm going to send it live, stuff like that. Or, oh, I'm just going to build an algo or buy an algo. I'm a big proponent of building an algo, but you could buy an algo, and I think that there are some out there that can be profitable or can be modified to be profitable. But the misconception is that, oh, it's just going to trade for me. I don't have to do any work. You need to be constantly tracking your metrics, constantly trying to improve, trying to find new edge. Like there's so many different things that you need to be doing all the time. And I would argue that I actually put significantly more work into algo building than I would if I was just discretionary trading. Moving on to discretionary trading, some of your pros are macro awareness. Unless you have an algo that uses machine learning, which is significantly harder to build, and you have way more look back bias and way more curve fitting risks. So there's pros and cons to using something that uses machine learning. But the macro awareness of the situation, right? You could know that SpaceX is IPOing today, so maybe I should sit out of the market, or some war just started, maybe I should stay out of the market today, or something green is happening, right? There's some catalyst that's bullish for the day, and your algo doesn't know that if it's strictly mechanical, and a significant amount of your machine learning algos also don't really know that. Like if we think about when the war first started with Iran, right? The market gapped down how many points? Gapped down 800 points. But now it starts up again and it like barely even affects the market. We get a 100-point gap. It's not a big deal because the market has now priced that in. So the algo will look at the past tense and look at, oh, well, last time it did this, so this time it's going to do this. But it doesn't have the nuance that a person does. And to develop that nuance, you need to feed it so much information. Another pro to discretionary trading is you can adapt in real time as news comes out, as catalysts come out, right? We've seen quite a few times now in the past few weeks, these yen interventions have happened, and there's been a significant dump for the entire day, and that comes out at 10:23 EST or whatever time, right? The algo doesn't know that that happened. So you can adapt in real time to what's actually happening. Another pro is quick gratification. If you're not a person who enjoys delayed gratification, I know there are people who just delayed gratification is not their thing, and that's fine, right? Everybody's a different person. The nice part with a discretionary strategy is you can learn it, back test it over the weekend, and Monday morning you can have a green day, right? It's quick, right? You can make your money fast and get those green days, build that confidence super quickly. And then the shallow learning curve. Learning trading is very difficult. Only 1% of traders will make money over the long term. 2% will be break even or a little bit higher. So when I say shallow, I mean that's in quotations and that's a nuanced statement. But it does have a shallower learning curve, right? You don't need to learn about curve fitting and running a Monte Carlo simulation and etc., etc., etc. Now, the cons with discretionary trading, and I try to make these different from just like the opposite of the pros with each other's lists because they can kind of count, they can be interchangeable, but I try to do different cons. So one of them would be fooled by randomness. I mean, you can go on a long streak of trading and you could be lucky for a month, get 3 payouts. That doesn't mean that your strategy is actually good and will perform next month because you could quite literally just be fooled by the randomness and you just getting lucky for that month. And it is possible to just get lucky for a month and end up green. Now, another con is that you are the risk model, right? Because things always change for you and you never know what's going to happen every day, right? Let's say one day you get in a fight with your girlfriend, you know, 3 hours before market open. The market opens, you're already like kind of pissed off, but you're like, okay, I need to cool down. Your risk parameters are going to be a little bit different. Your discretion is going to be a little bit different. Maybe you take a few more risks. You know, you took a long flight last night, you got in, your knee's killing you from sitting in that seat, whatever, right? And that will change your risk model and that will change how you behave in the market, even subconsciously. There will be a small shift in how you're thinking. And you can't factor that in a back test because usually when you're back testing, I know for me it's for it's a back test session from midnight to 4 in the morning, and I'm in a good mindset, I'm in flow state, I'm taking these trades, I'm feeling great. That's the optimal time. And you're not always going to be trading at the optimal time. And then that flows into inconsistency risk where your discretion is not consistent every day. Right? They are kind of one in another or the same because not every day is the same day, and your discretion every day is going to change, and your discretion over time is just going to naturally change, especially if you're a young person. If you're starting trading and you're 18 and you're using strategy from 18, 19, 20, 21, I can tell you from experience, my mindset at 18 was significantly different than my mindset is now at 21, 22 years old because I've just gotten older. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So there is always just this massive inconsistency risk. And then thirdly, it's just harder to audit. um, I would recommend that you should journal. At least you should journal for the starting of your trading. I don't personally journal. I'll be the first one to say it. I'm not a big journaler, but I did when I started trading, and I think that that's important. If you're already experienced in trading, then I don't think it's a huge deal to journal every single trade. And oh, I took this because of this, and oh, it lost because of this, 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 and this. Next time I should do this, this, and this differently. You get enough experience in the market that I don't think that that becomes meaningful anymore. But just your trading metrics are harder to audit. Your discretion in each time is harder to audit, et cetera, et cetera. It's harder for you to look back at what was happening last year and be like, oh, okay, well, the strategy isn't making money anymore. Something's wrong with the discretion. Something's wrong with the model. What was happening last year? Maybe I was taking a lot of losses in April of last year, and now it's April of this year, and I'm taking quite a few losses again. What was different in April? What did I figure out in April? Those kind of things. And you can see that in a back test, in a algo back test specifically. So which option is right for you? And as I said in the beginning, this is a hard question to answer, and it's something that you need to answer for yourself. So some of the things or some of the questions that I would ask you are for an algo, if you're an emotional trader and you revenge trade, and that's really your biggest problem in trading, I would point you towards probably going towards an algo because that takes the emotions and the revenge trading out of it. If you're fine with delayed gratification, right? If you're fine with not seeing any results for months upon months upon months and just trying things, trying things, trying things, and they all just turn out to be like total crap and then nothing, then I would point you towards algo trading. If you work or you have different time zones that don't allow you to trade that desired session, like I said, if you say you live in EST and you're trying to trade London session, it could be significantly easier for you to just build an algo for London session if you identified an edge in that session. Or let's say you're Australian and you're trying to trade New York session, what does it start at? Like 10 p.m.? So that's fairly late for you, especially if you need to wake up and go to your job at 6 in the morning and you're already tired from the day, you might be better off building an algo. And I think one of the other things is if you enjoy riddles and like figuring out puzzles, those kind of things, because that is what an algo is of in a sort, right? You're trying to figure out how to get an edge and you have a starting point and you have an end point, but you don't know what's in the middle. So you need to test out lots of things to try and get through what's in that middle section. And that's an analogy that I use quite a bit, is that building an algo is a lot like trying to solve a riddle. Now, for discretionary, if that would be a better option for you, do you have good discipline, right? Are you able to not revenge trade? Are you able to be consistent every day and, put your problems to the side, right? Not care that you got in a fight with your girlfriend last night and still show up to the market in the same mindset every day, then I think that a discretionary strategy might be right for you. If your edge in your strategy is a discretionary edge, and I know that we all kind of hate on ICT, but I do know people who are profitable with trading ICT, and that's a very small subset of people. And if you are a new trader, I would steer you away from ICT in algo or a discretionary sense. I wouldn't, steer you towards ICT, but there are people who are profitable in it. And I know people personally who are profitable in it because their discretion is the edge, right? They know when to take that IFVG out of the liquidity. I don't know. I've never traded ICT, but whatever buzzwords that go together with an ICT strategy, they know how to take those, and their discretion is the whole edge, right? ICT doesn't have an edge. It's been backtested a million times. We all know this, but their discretion is what makes it have an edge. And if you like fast gratification, we kind of demonize like fast gratification. Everybody's like, oh, you need delayed gratification, delayed gratification. Everybody's brains work differently. Some people love fast gratification. That's just what works for them. That's what clicks for them. So I think you just need to have a self-reflection. If you are a person who, likes fast gratification, if that's your thing, if that's what gets you going, I think discretionary strategy would be better for you, and you would probably give up building an algo realistically. And if your edge is in a time frame that you can easily trade, so that's kind of the inverse of what we said. If you work or you have a different time zone that doesn't allow you to trade, if you are in EST and you're trying to discretionary trade New York session, that's an easy session for you discretionary trade unless you have work or whatever other circumstance. But if you can easily trade the session that you can identify your edge in, then you're kind of better off to use discretionary trading, because with an algo, you have a trade-off with an algo is you lose the discretionary edge. And I think that a significant amount of people, their entire strategy's edge is discretionary. If you coded their strategy, it would not be profitable, but because they can use discretion, it is profitable. But on the inverse of that, using an algo, I think an even more significant amount of people, their edge or their discretion is actually a negative edge, right? If we look at somebody who, I mean, I know people who have traded for 2 years and never gotten a payout, right? Traded prop firms for 2 years, never gotten a payout. Statistically, that is an anomaly. You would have better odds if you just flipped a coin heads or tails and full ported the account every time. You would get a payout eventually. Now, would you be profitable? You'd probably spend more on accounts, whatever, but you would get a payout eventually, meaning that their discretion is actually giving them a negative edge. So I think you also need to look deep. Is your discretion giving you a negative edge? Because a discretion can be good and a discretion can be bad. So if your discretion is what makes your strategy profitable, then you should probably stay discretionary. But if your discretion is what's making you negative, then you should probably go to algo, or you can do both, right? I do both. I have an algo that trades New York, London, and Asia. So London and Asia, I'm not awake for. So it's trading those sessions. So I'm getting more trades off a day. And then I have one that trades fairly infrequently on New York session. So I discretionary trade during New York morning to kind of supplement the monthly gains, because I have a profitable discretionary strategy and I have a profitable algo strategy, because I really like doing both, right? I like the, waking up in the morning, hitting that banger, going out on the day, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I also like solving the riddle, solving the problem, building that algo. I really enjoy that as well. So picking one for you, I asked kind of all the questions that really matter. There's more, and I think that you really need to do some self-reflection on which one is better for you. And I mean, people who've talked to me for a while, this is going out obviously to the public, so there are some of you that have never talked to me, but a lot of you have talked to me who I know are going to be watching this. And I talk up algos, kind of, I put algos on like a high pedestal. I love algo trading, but I don't think that's the end all be all. I think that you can waste a lot of time building an algo when your time would be better spent somewhere else. So unless you are building an algo truly for the love of the game and not just to make money, then I would caution against algo trading. Not write it off. I mean, we went over reasons why you should build one. If you check enough boxes there and you think that it would work for you, then 100% you should go about it. But I also would caution against, wasting 6 months of your free time building an algo when you don't really need one, if that makes sense. But I mean, that pretty much wraps it up. If you got questions in the comments, I'd appreciate it if y'all would like and subscribe. That would be sweet. Helps the algo out. Appreciate it. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.